Welcome to the bold, to Muslim brothers in this channel. May this Eid ul-Adha be a source of peace, love and inspiration for you and your loved ones. And may Allah accept your sacrifices on Eid. Today, a very significant political observation I want us to look at. President William Ruto arrived in the country after the weekend-long tour, or rather a foreign mission in Italy and Switzerland. In Italy, the president was attending G7 summit amongst the 5 African countries that were invited alongside the G7 countries, and then attended a Ukraine peace mission, Ukraine-Russia peace summit in Switzerland. I think, to the best of my knowledge, in this channel we all covered those two events, those two meetings. But what really surprised the country, or rather what the country has paid attention to here, is this video when the president disembarked from KQ plane. And of course, this was going to be the center of debate. And what has been confirmed that here, Ruto flew aboard Embraer ENB 135BJ Legacy 600 registration CT-AMCMR, a private chartered jet from VSR Ventures, an aviation consultancy based in Delhi, New Delhi in India. So this is the flight. This is the plane, that the private jet that Ruto used to fly for the president to use. But it's also true, we need to clarify to the public that he picked that plane from Paris to Kenya Airways, to Nairobi. So it's not that he flew Kenya KQ. I know some people, this photo will be shared with the president's communication team, and a clique of Kenyans will buy that, oh, the president nowadays uses KQ. That was not it. But then you will also need to appreciate the fact that the truthful man, if indeed he's still very truthful, the Deputy President Rigathi Disappears also gave a challenge to the president when he decided to use a commercial flight to Mombasa. And members, and I think even in this channel, we really analyzed the script at the KQ, of using the KQ. But that was also posturing, and I think I mentioned amongst the 10 reasons was Rigathi just wanted to speak about something on austerity. So Ruto is also under pressure to show the same, but he had to do it because at the end of the day, Rigathi was also running a narrative on being a villager. Now, conspicuously missing from that airport is the Deputy President Rigathi Disappears. That is Monday morning. The president arrived Monday morning. The Deputy President was missing. And his absence from the airport is something very predictable if you've been following the political developments over the weekend. And I mentioned that in the absence of the president, the person that is the custodian of the country is his deputy. But the deputy behaved on Saturday in a manner likely to suggest that he was not a stand-in president. He was not a president in charge. To the best of, if I make my observation serves me right. So the deputy president was missing in that. And looking at the discussions and the political developments over the weekend, it's very clear that Rigathi was not going to make his way to the airport. And what am I saying? 3 quick reasons why Rigathi might have decided not. One, it could be a communication cut down. He blamed president's handlers, PAs, and cabinet members around the president friends, to be commanding him. And probably that was a very confrontational approach, and they decided maybe we are not going to command you, so we're not going to ask, we are going to tell you to go and receive the president in the airport. And the president himself could have also expressed some anger against his deputy. He might have gone through the clips, received the intelligence briefs on the state of the country, amidst all this, and could also have really vented his frustration and said he doesn't want to see Rigathi around him. And lastly, the issues about security concerns that have been raised. But now, Rigathi missing that airport it compounds this debate. It's part of the big debate. And today I want to look at why the Ruto's counter strategy on Rigathi is very delicate, and whether really it works. After the speech, after the rally, the explosive rally in Nyeri, Moses Kuria emerged with something on impeachment, and I know it was hot air. Only for the Raila lawyer later to say that anyone planning to impeach Rigathi should not depend on his vote. And during that impeachment messaging, Moses Kuria raised some 10 questions. And I know those questions are political, and some of them are a bit factual or so. But I decided to pick 2. One, and this is part of the counter strategy that Ruto, because Moses Kuria is speaking on behalf of President Ruto, that Rigathi declined to take tea in State House, that allegedly he can be poisoned. You know, that came from a cabinet member, Moses Kuria. To the best of my knowledge, this is just about cabinet. I don't know whether people take tea in cabinet, maybe even water or something. He's trying to portray that, and for Moses Kuria to make that, I did not take it lightly because of these other observations that are aligned with that. On Friday, Rigathi Gachagua was in Ruai, and before he even went to the podium, for the first time we saw sniffer dogs. I know they're normally there. I don't know why we were shown, but to the security protocols, I believe those sniffer dogs are part of the team that will inspect where a VIP is going. But we were shown. Those sniffer dogs in the podium. Look at this. So these sniffer dogs that we were shown here were just checking through where the deputy president was going to be. And the reason why I want to believe it's not something new. Maybe it's something that happens. But you realize that we were to be shown that, and shown, you know, I'm not careful. I'm a bit careful on that. So that raised some support on Rigathi feeling insecure around Kenya Kwanza. Number 2, Rigathi used Kenya KQ. And when the country was asking, with the discussion in Parliament, a Nyando member of Parliament, Jared Ukelo, raised questions in Parliament and was asking majority to explain why the office of the deputy is funded, and even his domestic flight is funded, but he decided to use a commercial flight. And a story emerged that Rigathi is supposed to receive a repurposed chopper from Kenya Police, something that his office are likely to decline, different sources indicating that Rigathi might not be in for it, and probably looking at the history of our country on such matters, Rigathi might be right, probably to decline that. Then the third observation that is supporting what Kuria is saying here is, Rigathi, the deputy president nowadays travels with his wife, especially on those Sunday services events. Most likely is tagging along the second lady, Dorcas Rigathi. Security experts will tell you that if you want Rigathi out of the way and is traveling with his wife and members of his family, then that makes the security risks, that makes the risks more complicated broadened and more complicated. And that could be, and so there's so many developments about that. But that is not even the big thing. Let's look at the second strategy. You know, those most scholars say 10 things, but I picked this too. The second one was, and he said this in Muranga, on how we have moved from hustler to villager. And was asking Rigathi, why aren't you asking, what have you brought for hustlers that we've now gone back to the top of caste as villagers? And when I listened to that, I realized, yes, William Ruto's problem is this. And it's a bit complicated. Kenya Kwanza team are staring at Rigathi going back to the campaign trail. And the person Rigathi has presented to Kenyans is another person known as a villager and not a hustler. So from a hustler, a hustler is an improved version, a villager is an improved version of a hustler. Because there is a hustler, mama mboga, mtu wa kushona kitunguu, not kitunguu, mtu wa kushona manguo, mtu wa kuuza kitunguu, let me correct it, mtu wa kuuza kitunguu, cobbler, all that. That's a hustler. But this hustler can also be a villager. A villager is someone, a villager doesn't mean that someone who stays in the village. No, everyone is a villager. You came from village. Like me, I also came from a tiny village in my area has the worst name, huh? is Papnya. Now, there is a big problem. And you can see that William Ruto's handlers are showing discomfort with the deputy president's issues, personal rebranding about it. As I said earlier, the fallout between Ruto and Rigathi, it's not a fallout, it's not animosity. I think a fallout is, this is more than a fallout. It's more than a fallout. Yesterday, Mutahi Kahiga was speaking to Citizen, I'm telling you, and his language, when he was asked, when he jumped into this thing, his language was very keen. Said, these people are not elected to be lovers. They must not be friends. And if you listen to the way he's saying, he's insinuating, they must not be friends. They just need to work for the people. And this confirms what what I've been saying here. The fallout is irreparable.
So, Governor, in light of all this, and when you talk about that, as we stand, what then is the relation between the president and his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua?
Well, they have a working relationship. We never voted for them to become lovers. We just voted for them to be working, deliver the better agenda for the people of Kenya, the 50 million. It is not about liking each other. They have a job to do. Let them do it. But I'll give an example. One thing, we have the president himself allocated and delegated the responsibility of coffee revitalization to the deputy president in his office. Today, if you check today's budget, there is only 4 million Kenya shillings allocated to that function. What is he expected to do with that? Is only being set up for failure. Trying to say that we are setting up 6.9 billion to pay debts is only maybe to mollify the community. But the truth of the matter is that everything is being done to ensure that the deputy president's office is not working as it should. We have read in the papers the other day that even his budgets have been cut. This is not what we expect. We expect the two of them to work together for the sake of the...
So essentially, yes. Governor, you're saying there is a problem right now between the president and his deputy?
Of course, it is so clear because they can have all they may be working together, meeting together, but you can see. By the way, who is defending Rigathi Gachagua except Governor Mutahi Kahiga? And all I'm saying is that I can see things are not going right, and I'm requesting my president, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, you that we voted for, to a man, please, it's time you took charge. Do not allow people to mess your legacy by creating all those problems that we can see around the deputy president. And we are...
Governor, we've not seen the president speak on this particular matter, has not called out anybody. So where do you think the problem lies then?
The problem lies in that the president is not taking charge. He is the president, and whoever is going through these troubles is his deputy. It is upon him to defend that office. He knows what he went through. We were pitying him when he was traumatized, he was harassed, he was denied rights. And now when he sits back and watches these things happen, we hear him one day say, please respect Rigathi Gachagua. But 2 days later we see the same people walking around and disparaging the deputy governor, the deputy president. Yet the president himself spoke publicly and asked them that they respect the deputy president. What that tells me as an intelligent person is that he could be saying one thing in public and a different thing in
is irredeemable. Listen to Mteka Higa. It is no longer about what so-and-so is saying. It's irredeemable. And why it has completely failed even to get its footing. If there was a time that Ruto needed to fix and push this ceasefire and save himself of all these squabbles, was the day Rigathi Gachagua came out, went to his place in Madeira. After complaining about the chopper, he went and was in Madeira for the whole week. That was the time that Ruto needed to call Rigathi and sit down with Rigathi and say, find out what the hold is. And what he just needs to do is one thing. I don't know that you look at it as blackmail or so. He just need to confirm to Rigathi that in 2027 you are my running mate. Rigathi will stop all this one man, one shilling, one thing. He will stop everything and will start worshipping William Ruto. Sometimes in leadership, you must also know what to do. There is a story here that in 2015, there was a meeting between Ruto and Rigathi and Uhuru Kenyatta. I think it was 2014 or so. And that was the time, it was a highly publicized that Uhuru Kenyatta went and visited Ruto's office in Harambee House, and it was a working, it was a working tour. It was to form some working synergy. It was highly reported in media that they were just Uhuru left his office, the Harambee office, and went to visit Ruto, walking, and it was to create that. But the real reason why that happened was Uhuru Kenyatta realized things were not being done right. Remember, Ruto had gotten his roots in government or this and that. And things were not being done right. And so he went there for a sit down with his deputy. And from there, he kept on, now asking the deputy, this one is this way, this one this way. And if you remember keenly, after that meeting, it didn't take long before a cabinet reshuffle happened. And when that cabinet reshuffle happened, the first person that lost his cabinet seat, if I am not wrong, was Churchill. Not Churchill. It was in that energy docket. It's either Churchill was brought or he lost that docket. And there were so many developments around that time. So it's something that we also need to. I'm not saying William Ruto making deliberate effort to try to close the ranks. Number one, the reason why he is actually captured by all this is the president has gotten himself deep into the kingpin politics. Mount Kenya kingpin politics. He has gotten into it. The likes of Kuria are just speaking because they want to be kingpin and they believe Rigathi is running away with this thing. So Rigathi is the last, Moses Kuria is the last person even to be sent on this mission. I look at another claim by Kuria that Rigathi went and asked for 10 billion when there was those protests and I don't know, life in Mount Kenya, I don't know, was unbearable or something. And he asked for 10 billion to go and to pacify the ground, and that was not given. There's so many claims, but you look at those statements by Moses Kuria. Why this? It's because there's and it's just speaking political spanners. I understand that cabinet should not get involved in politics, but that is not it. Now, the impeachment threat that Ruto is playing, I'm just wondering what is running in their mind, because whatever they're saying is what Rigathi wants to hear. Rigathi was in Nyeri and I've said everything. So if he wants to go to another county and speak about this matter, he also needs this story to develop. So when Rigathi runs in Nyeri, and then in the evening you talk about impeachment, you are giving Rigathi fodder. Tell me, today he decides to go to Meru, or not even Meru, goes to Kiambu here, now says, now they want to chase me out of government. They want to remove me out of government. Do you want to tell me that people will not sympathize with him? By the way, we don't underestimate him, and it's not about, in fact, I think we don't get it. It's not that we overestimate Rigathi, no. The Mount Kenya, and to be specific, the Mount Kenya voters that were around William Ruto had already been, wiped around emotions. And it's also human for people to align with the person seen as being oppressed. So that impeachment threat, I'm looking at it and I'm like, Ruto knows very well that will be the end of his term. Yes, that will bring his term to, yes, you remove Rigathi. Rigathi is not the problem to most people in this country, by the way. Did you hear Sakaja Sifuna saying that things are so bad that even that Rigathi is sasa ndiye anaonekana mtu mzuri? Rigathi is not the problem. The problem with Kenya Kwanza is the fact that things are not working. So Rigathi is just a sideshow. Now, lastly, the president must be very careful. When Kuria is the person coming out to say that Rigathi doesn't take tea in State House because of don't know life that can be poisoned, those are not very good statements at this time. And members of William Ruto's circle pushing that, Rigathi feels threatened around William Ruto. It doesn't work. I don't know. Someone wants to blame Rigathi. In the mind of Kuria, he's blaming Rigathi for failing to take tea. But the people that are listening there are not looking at it that way. What the public see here is, oh, Ruto came here with the Bible. Ruto, was a good man. Ruto is a Christian. But now Rigathi can't take tea there because he thinks he can be poisoned. The interpretation of the members of the public is very different. So Kuria in his hand wants to tell the country, he's blaming Rigathi of not taking tea, and that why should you take tea in your mansion if you also don't take tea in State House. There are those statements. But when you take it to the public, I wish this would have come from Rigathi, then Kuria counter. But making these statements, much as you might have the truth with it, but not everything should be laid on table. A discussion about the life of the deputy president on table is making things more personal. And the public are also now taking matters more personal. Let's agree with what Mandagwan said towards siasa kwa roho. Thank you.